Texas Governor Greg Abbott with me here yesterday on this program saying that he'll help the incoming Trump administration deport dangerous migrant criminals. Texas is offering 1,400 acres of land to stage Trump's mass deportation operation and build a facility for processing, detention, and coordination. Abbott also telling me his state is expanding its floating buoy border barrier in anticipation of a migrant surge ahead of Trump's inauguration. Meanwhile, Venezuelan illegal migrant Jose Ibarra sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. Athens District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez is facing criticism this morning for refusing to seek the death penalty for Ibarra. Georgia State Representative Houston Gaines pointed out that Gonzalez vowed to, quote, no longer seek the death penalty and take into account the collateral consequences to undocumented defendants. Georgia State Senator Colton Moore now calling on the state's attorney general to intervene and demand that the death penalty be used for Ibarra, saying Gonzalez let her radical political agenda stand in the way of justice. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Michael Cloud, a member of the House Oversight and Appropriations Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to life in prison versus no death penalty and why the judge chose that path?
Once again, we see a woke agenda getting in front of what is true justice for these victims. It's really tragic to see that's even taken off the table. We've got to begin to see enforcement. We've got to be able to see these people brought to justice. It's the only thing that would be right. What we really need to do, of course, is secure our border and make sure that these people aren't making it into the U.S. so that we don't have these victims in the first place. But we've got a lot of work to do to get to that point.
Jonathan Fahey, jump in here, because if you did actually have the death penalty, that would have sent a severe message to other potential migrants looking to commit murder.
Right, exactly. It would have a deterrent effect on the migrants. And also, you know, the thing that's interesting about it, she's actually saying I'll treat American citizens who commit crimes worse than illegal migrants. It's totally alarming. But Congressman Cloud, I have a question about, you know, one of the failures of this whole thing is what makes it even worse is the government's failure every step of the way allow this to happen. The Biden's open border policy is subsidizing this migrant and all the other ones, but also these sanctuary cities, and New York let him go. And I'd like to ask you, what can Congress do to cut down on these sanctuary cities in terms of, can you eliminate them? Can you cut funding? Are there things that you can do immediately to make it unsustainable for this to continue, because nobody should ever have to go through what Laken Riley's family went through?
Well, the first thing we need to do is to follow the law that's on the books. The Biden administration has completely skirted the law. They've been ignoring the law. The Trump administration, they did a lot of great things to secure the border, the first Trump administration. But one of the biggest things they did was they followed the law. And so we can pass H.R. 2 in the next term to kind of clean up some of the loopholes that the left was taking advantage of. But we've just follow the law and we'll secure the border. We've got to provide the funding. We've got to make sure that we will be able to support the deportations. We got to turn off the magnet that's bringing people here in the first place. And again, seeing when people look at the United States and they see that illegal aliens are treated better than the citizens of this country, that is a problem not only for the citizens of this country, but it serves as a magnet that brings people here unlawfully. There's a right way to come to this country. Let's do everything we can to streamline that process, to do it the right way, to encourage the right people to come into this country. But we've got to stop the mass open border, the chaos that's happening in our communities that we've seen the Biden administration aid and abet, really.
And that trial yesterday and this week has been an incredible heartbreak, watching her family hear all these details. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee advancing the Dismantle DEI Act yesterday. It'll head for a full House vote. The bill aims to pursue all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, take them out of the federal government. Congressman, you introduced this bill along with Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Tell us more.
Yeah, this bill does really three things. It would close the DEI offices that the Biden administration stood up in virtually every single agency, but then they've tried to force feed this really Marxist agenda on the American people through the contracting process. Any company doing business with the United States was asked to adopt these sort of policies within their companies, and then through the grant writing process, where if you're an NGO or research institution or something trying to get grants, you again had to adopt these sort of policies and force feed them on the American American people. Well, even the business community now is saying, maybe there are some altruistic motives for some of these people who are embracing this sort of ideology, but it's not working. And you're seeing a retraction among the business community. We've got to get this out of the government as well. It claims to help with diversity when it actually works against those ends and makes things worse. It makes race the first thing we think about as opposed to merit and people being either hired or promoted for their work and their performance and what they bring to the organization.
Let me get your take on this new department outside government called DOGE. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy laying out their vision for the Department of Government Efficiency in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. The agency will pursue three major kinds of reform, the two write: regulatory recessions, administrative reductions, and cost savings. Writing, with a decisive electoral mandate and a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, DOGE has a historic opportunity for structural reductions in the federal government, saying that they are prepared for the onslaught from entrenched interests in Washington. Congressman, can they overcome the special interest groups? And what about what they're saying in terms of all of these rules and regulations that bypassed Congress in the first place? They say when the president nullifies thousands of such regulations, critics will allege executive overreach. In fact, it will be correcting the executive overreach of thousands of regulations promulgated by administrative fiat that were never authorized by Congress. Do you agree with that?
The thing we have going for us is the American people have spoken clearly. What we see the Trump administration doing, and in the case of DOGE, is they're doing exactly what they campaigned upon. We need to cut back on the federal government. We need to rein in not only the massive spending, but the overreach that gets into everybody's lives. Anyone who's participating in the economy, who's working in a business, who's doing anything, you got the federal all these agencies who've outgrown their original mandate, really meddling and messing in people's lives. And this, obviously the president will come in, he'll be able to secure the border, he'll be able to get our economy going, restore our energy policy. But from the Congress's perspective, this is probably the biggest thing we need to do, is to rein in the administrative state over the next 18 months and right-size the federal government. And so we're really excited to see what Elon and Vivek is bringing to the table here, and we'll be doing everything we can to support it.
All right, we'll leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. Michael Cloud in D.C. this morning. Stay with